So good evening everyone, and welcome to another vlog. And tonight I've come up to the Causeway Coast and I've come up to a really cool location. I've been here a few times before, and the purpose of the video tonight is to shoot a panorama. And what I thought might be helpful for you guys is if I shared a few tips, probably even a few of my mistakes that I've made in the past, maybe some of the settings that I didn't really know or fully understand, and I guess just let you have a look at the pano that I'm going to be shooting this evening. Typically whenever I'm shooting panos, it's a weird one because whenever I get into photography I started to shoot a lot of them, and I got really frustrated because one of the issues that I had was that because I shoot a lot of seascapes, and obviously a lot of that has the horizon on it, whenever I tried to stitch the pano together, the horizon, because of the distortion, it wouldn't normally stitch very well. Now kind of software has moved on, and stitching capabilities of the likes of Lightroom and stuff is so much better now than it was back then, but it kind of put me off, I guess, from shooting panos. And it's only really been recently that I've started to kind of get back into it again, and I've shot Kimby and Castle a few weeks back, which just turned out amazingly well. It was just too wide to shoot it on the 16mm, so I had to shoot a pano. And then I shot one of the Mourne Mountains, just the whole sweep of the mountain line, which again came out really well. Two very different panos. One was shot actually at pretty much 16mm, and the other was shot with a 70-200 lens. So two very different panos, but it kind of got me excited about shooting panos again, and kind of thought, well, do you know what, let's go make a video. I've come to this location that you really need to shoot a pano to get it to work, and I'm quite excited by the look on the horizon here. We've got a little bit of a gap, so as always, fingers crossed that we might actually get some nice light. Okay, so what I thought I would do is actually to kind of give you a nice introduction about how to set up a pano and what your settings should be. But as you can see, the light is kicked off here already, and I'm literally just going to try really quickly and get this in the bag before the light goes. Basically what I'm doing, normally I work from left to right when I'm shooting panos, because that tends to be the way that your software stitches it. But to be honest, when the light, it doesn't really matter, because you go where the light is, because what you don't want happening is the light being over here and then you start on the left, and by the time you get all the way around to the right, the light has actually gone. You need to kind of follow the light, and if it's on the right hand side, start there. But that's kind of neither here nor there. So yeah, what I'm doing, I have the camera set up in a portrait mode at the minute. Now this is not ideal. I am shooting this at 16mm, which is just crazy because there's going to be a ridiculous amount of distortion in this, but there's just, I have no option, because to try and get the highest point up here on the cliff in, and also some of this foreground, I can't go any closer. So this is going to be a real nightmare to stitch together. Now it has stitched for me before once, but the light wasn't good, hence why I've come back to shoot it again. So in many ways, if this stitches, it's going to be a miracle, but I'd be very happy. Now the setup that I have for the panos here is I have one of the Really Right Stuff pano heads. Now with the pano head that you buy, you have this noodle slide on here. Now the noodle slide is something that to be honest, I haven't used an awful lot. Thought I would bring it tonight just because I was making the video and to kind of let you see why you would actually use it. But the idea is, with the pano head from Really Right Stuff, all I have to do is actually level the plate of the ball head here, and then this little lever here allows it to rotate, and that is rotating on a completely level playing field here. If this was just a ball head, if you were trying to rotate the whole ball head, you would have to have it like so accurately lined up, whereas with this here, you're literally just aligning the ball head so it's level, and then this here just spins round. And obviously keep an eye on your little spirit level in your camera to make sure that it's level. Now the idea behind the nodal slide is that the nodal point of the lens should be roughly in the middle, so that is the point that's actually rotating. If you didn't have this, your camera would be sitting here, so it would actually be your camera body that will be rotating round. The idea with it is that it's meant to try and reduce the amount of distortion so that you can stitch your images easier and more successfully. As I say, I have had mixed results with it. I use it sometimes. I don't probably use it as often as I maybe should, but I'm going to try it here tonight. A lot of the time I actually just don't have this bit on, and I only have the camera body sitting here, and I seem to be getting fairly decent results. But anyway, that's the setup. Now, it isn't quite an expensive setup. You don't have to go to this kind of expense. You can get much cheaper pano heads that doesn't have the node slide, but has this little section, so that might be a really good place to start. If you can't go down that route, then just make sure that your tripod is completely level, and that will at least help your chances of actually getting a nice level panel that will stitch really well whenever you bring it into the software afterwards. So setting wise for panos, what do I tend to be shooting? What I'll do is, so for all my landscapes, I'll 99.9% of the time be shooting in manual mode. So I want complete control over every setting on the camera. So I normally shoot my ISO, so it's down at 100 at the minute. I'm shooting at f11, and then the only thing I'm going to be changing as the light changes is going to be my shutter speed. And at the minute I'm getting in around about a second or so. So those are my settings that I'm just going to dial in and leave them at that for now. So if you can think of the whole panel, I don't want my exposure to change from the left hand side of it at any point as I go right the way through the right hand side. I want to keep my exposure settings the same. If you're shooting in something like AV mode and one part of your scene is really bright, as is happening here, and then the other part is really dark, your camera is going to start to try and work out what the exposure should be, and it's just going to mess the whole thing up. So shoot it in manual. The other thing to remember is your focus point. You don't want your focus point to be changing with every shot that you take. So normally what I'll do is I'll focus the first image and then flick it on to manual focus and then leave it. So that it means is as I rotate it round, the focus isn't going to be shifting, because what you don't want happening is getting back into Lightroom or whatever software you're using and finding that one of the images is slightly soft, and it'll be probably the one bang in the middle, which you can't hide, and that's the pano ruin. So manual exposure, and whenever you get your focus, flick it on the manual focus. Now whenever it actually comes to taking the actual panel, then as I say, I'm shooting in a portrait format at the minute, and as I take a shot and then I'm rotating it slightly, and I've probably got an overlap of anywhere between sort of like 30% to 50%. Because I'm shooting 16mm and there is quite a bit of distortion here, I'm probably overlapping it maybe by about 50%. Well, there's the light again. Just to make sure that I kind of cover all my bases. If you were using maybe a longer lens like a 24 to 105 or a 70 to 200, you could probably get away with maybe about a third of an overlap. You just want to make sure that you give the software enough to overlap as it's stitching it all together, because it's going to give it a more chance of getting it really accurate. But yeah, anywhere between 20-30% is probably going to be enough for most panels. And as I said before, normally I typically shoot a panel from left to right. That's the way I bring it into Lightroom, and it seems to be the way then you bring the images in to stitch them. But this image here is about maybe 7 or 8 shots. It's quite frustrating because the light's on this side, so I start on the left, and by the time I move across, it's disappeared from the right. So don't be scared that if the light is on the right hand side to start with, shoot that way, because if you start on the opposite side, by the time you get right round to there, the light could have gone, and that's kind of what's happening to me at the minute. I'm not actually sure whether I'm going to try and turn this into landscape format and shoot it, because it would mean that I could do it in fewer shots, and I might be able to get the light faster, because it's really frustrating because the light's there and then it's there, and the bit in the middle is completely just dull, and then it's back there again and it's gone off here, and it's just, I just can't get the whole scene lit. So I may switch across to landscape and shoot it that way and hope that the distortion isn't too bad. So you may have noticed I did try and switch it over onto landscape, but what I was finding was the top of the headland, I wasn't actually getting it in the second shot. So I just had to go back to portrait, and I just really fingers crossed that this is going to stitch, because there could be a crazy amount of distortion. One other thing I didn't mention earlier was I've taken the polarizer off. Now, the reason for doing that is there's quite a lot of blue sky at the minute, and if you can imagine the effect of a polarizer, it's going to change as you rotate your camera away from or towards the sun. So because I'm shooting on quite a huge angle here, the effect that the polarizer would have on the sky on the left of the frame is going to be different to what it is going to have on the right of the frame. So what I didn't want happening was whenever I got it back into Lightroom, that there's this real weird unevenness in the sky. You might not notice it as much if there was more cloud, but because there's quite a lot of blue sky here at the minute, it was looking really, really dark in one section, and then the next shot was actually looking quite a bit lighter. So taking the polarizer off, I just have I think I have a 6-stop ND on. I have no grads, so just a 6-stop. So I'm getting about 2 seconds of an exposure. So it's giving me a nice little bit of blur in the water, but that's the only filter that I'm using for this at the minute. And because I'm shooting away from the sun, I don't really need a grad to do anything with the sky. So kind of just trying to keep it as simple as possible. So I really wish I could take more time with this, but this is just a bit frantic here because the light is just amazing. You could probably even just see kind of catching up there behind me. But what it's doing, it's just hitting bits of the headland, and I think I've got about 9 shots to get the whole way around here, and I'm really struggling to get this all in before the light goes again. But we're now just creeping into golden hour. So one of the really good things about shooting at the causeway is that if you can get this in the right light, all the columns and the pillars of the rock faces go this amazing orange colour, and it is absolutely beautiful. And that's what's happening now. Because the light's so much softer, you can probably even see my face, the sun is getting much lower to the horizon, and the light here is just amazing. I've not changed my composition. I'm literally shooting the exact same image. There it is again, look at that. Wow. And what I'm actually doing as well is I'm going a little bit wider than I actually need. So I'm kind of going another shot extra on both ends, just to make sure that when it goes to stitch, I'm not losing anything that I might, when I get back, just wish I'd got that extra little bit in. So if you can, always take an extra shot on either side. Wow, that is absolutely oh, that is absolutely amazing. Oh wow, that's just like some of the best light that I have seen on the causeway. So we've gone from right to left, and I'm doing this again. I'm going left to right this time. Wow. How could you ever get tired of a place like this? Absolutely amazing. So settings, ISO 50, f11, half a second. I apologise that there isn't as many little close-ups and being able to show you the composition, because it's very hard to show you the composition whenever you're shooting a panel, because you're kind of going to be stitching it together. But hopefully it will be worth the wait. To give you a rough idea, we've got this massive big headland on the right, which is rising up, and with the 16mm it's exaggerating it even more. So it is on the top right with this other amazing headland, but over on the left hand side, and then we've got a beautiful sweep of the bay as the foreground. I think that might be all I'm going to tell you. I'm just hoping, pray that it stitches, and then I can show you the final image. I'm going to grab one more shot here because I have a feeling this light might disappear very, very quickly. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video tonight. I think I'm going to end it here because the light is starting to get just a little bit better, and the clouds are kind of coming across, which is a little bit more of the moodiness that I want. So I'm kind of struggling a little bit to try and film and shoot and vlog and all that there, and I just really have to nail this shot. So really excited to share these images with you, and you know, I hope that it maybe inspires you to head out and shoot some panoramas. So really quickly, just to kind of run over the kind of a quick overview of what I was chatting about. Normally I shoot them in a portrait format. I'll shoot them in manual exposure, and I'll flick my focus. Once I have it focused, I'll flick it over to manual, and then that means it doesn't change throughout the shots. Always shoot an extra couple of shots wider than you need, so maybe an extra one on the left and an extra one on the right, and make sure that you have your overlap. So try and aim for in and around about 20 to 30%. If you're doing like what I'm doing tonight, where I'm shooting 16mm, and I wouldn't really recommend it, but I've no option. But if you're doing that, maybe try and overlap just a little bit more, and yeah, have fun, and hopefully you'll get a shot that's maybe a little bit different to what you would normally get just shooting with a wide angle lens. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys, as always. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video, hopefully in the same kind of light as this, because I could really, really get used to this.